Hi, this is the History of Israel podcast, an Each My Own Beat podcast. Over the coming weeks, months, and years, we'll be discussing the history of Israel. This is not a podcast to say which side is right, which side is wrong. It's not a podcast to talk about the war which is happening in Palestine. It's just simply the history of Israel.
Welcome back to episode 22 of the History of Israel podcast, the First Jewish-Roman War. In 66 CE, the Jews of Judea rose into revolt against Rome, sparking the First Jewish-Roman War from 66 to 73 CE, also known as the Great Jewish Revolt. Flavius Josephus, a contemporary Jewish historian who fought as the commander of Jewish forces in Galilee but later defected to the Roman side, chronicled events of the war in his book The Jewish War. Vespasian, an experienced Roman general, was sent by Emperor Nero to crush the rebellion. He arrived by Ptolemais along with legions of ex-Ferentis and 5 Macedonica. There he was joined by his son Titus, who arrived from Alexandria at the head of the Legio 15th Apollinaris, as well by the armies of various local galleys, including that of King Agrippa II. During the Galilee campaign, many towns surrendered without a fight, and others were taken by force. Yodfat, a fortified town in the lower Galilee, was besieged for 47 days before it fell to treachery. The city was razed, people were killed, and the rest were enslaved. Gamla, the major Jewish stronghold in the Golan Heights, fell 1 month after the siege. Following a lull in military operations caused by civil war of political turmoil in Rome, Vespasian was summoned to Rome and appointed emperor. In early 70 CE, Titus moved to besiege Jerusalem, the center of rebel resistance in Judea. The city had been taken over by several rebel factions following a period of massive unrest and the collapse of the short-lived provincial government. The first of 2 walls of Jerusalem were breached in 3 weeks, but the Roman army was unable to breach the third and thickest wall due to the stubborn rebel standoff. According to Josephus, a contemporary historian and the main source of the war, the city was ravaged by murder, famine, and cannibalism. On Tisha B'Av, 70 CE, August 30th, Roman forces finally overwhelmed the defenders and set fires to the temple. Resistance was continued for another month, but eventually the upper and lower parts of the city were taken as well, and the city was burned to the ground. Titus spared only 3 towers of the Herodian citadel as a testimony to the city's former night. Josephus wrote that over 1 million people perished in the siege and subsequent fighting. While contemporary studies dispute this figure, all agree the siege had a major toll on human life, with many people being killed and enslaved and large parts of the city destroyed. After the fall of Jerusalem, Titus returned to Rome, leaving the remaining Jewish strongholds, including Herodium and Machaerus, to the Roman legions. The war ended in 73-74 CE with the siege of Masada. According to Josephus, the siege resulted in the mass suicide of Sicarii rebels and resident Jewish families, though the historicity of the mass suicide is debated.
This has been the History of Israel podcast. Check back every Wednesday for new episodes. We're available on Apple, iTunes, Google Podcasts, as well as Spotify. We also have each episode streaming on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. We're available on eattomyownbeat.com as well as the History of Israel podcast on Facebook.